Hi friends, let's correct workbook page 119, where you had to do solid figures. Number 1, 5 faces, 8 edges, and 5 vertices. Number 2, 0 faces, 0 edges, 0 vertices. Number 3, 6 faces, 12 edges, and 8 vertices. Number 4, 0 faces, 0 edges, 0 vertices. Number 5, if you folded that all up together, you would get a rectangular prism. Number 6, you would get a pyramid. And number 7, a cube. Number 8, triangular pyramid. Okay, let's turn to your textbook. And today we're doing perimeter on page 320. It's 9.10. Go ahead and get a paper and turn there now. Okay, perimeter is adding all of the different lengths if you wanted to put in a fence around a yard. So you would take the measurement of how long of a piece of fence that you would need if your yard was shaped like this, or whatever shape it is or gives you. You just think about that. If you wanted to put a fence around every piece of your yard to block it in, if you had a dog, to contain the dog. So you would need a 2-piece, a 3-piece, a 5-piece, a 1, a 3, a 2. And it's important to see what the measurement, or the unit of measurement is. And for here, it is cm, which is abbreviation for centimeters. So perimeter is the distance around any figure, and to find out, you just add them all together. So to find the perimeter of this one, which is in your textbook, it's the red figure. I didn't do the trapezoid, but you do it exactly the same way. So this one is the top figure. In your textbook on page 320, to find the perimeter, you add them all together. So it would be 3. 3 plus 5 plus 1 plus 3 plus 2 plus 2. And you need to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 numbers. Make sure you don't miss a number, or make sure you haven't added a number twice. So you have to double check that. Otherwise your answer would be wrong. So make sure you always double check that you have the exact number of numbers over here as you do in your list to add together. Okay, so if you remember earlier in the year when we were adding a big list of numbers, we would kind of group some together. Do you remember when we did that? Like 3 plus 2 is a 5. That one would be a 5. This 3 and this 2 would be a 5. So then you'd have 5, 10, 15, 16, right? It's just a shortened way. And if you don't do that, you can just add them all together. 3 plus 5 is 8, plus 1 more is 9, plus 3 more is 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 16, and make sure you always write your unit, 16 centimeters. So the perimeter of this shape is 16 centimeters. Easy enough, right? You just add all your numbers together. Okay, so the next part in your textbook, starting on number 1, it says estimate the perimeter, and then it says use a centimeter ruler to find the perimeter. I just want you to be able to measure it. If you don't have a ruler, then you can estimate. But if you do have a ruler in your house, I want you to measure it. And I'm going to show you how to measure it. Okay? So let me erase this, and we'll write down number 1. Number 1 is just a rectangle. So number 1. So let's measure with a ruler and find out what that length is. First, let's look at the ruler. A ruler has different markings, and if you see this one, you can see that this side is an inch. It's kind of blurry, I know. I'm trying to get it to be clearer for you. But that side is inch, and then if you turn it over, on the other side, it will say mm and cm. Do you see that right there? That means each number is going to be the centimeter, and each little one in between is the millimeter. So if it doesn't go quite to the 2, we're going to estimate and say it's still about 2. Okay, we're going to estimate because we're not going to do it precisely. And you'll also see on the ruler that you don't start on the very edge of the ruler. There's a big, huge line. I know it's blurry. I'm trying to get it to be clear and focus. There's a line right where you should start it. You shouldn't start on the edge. You should start it at that first line when you're measuring things on the ruler. So let's take a look at it in your book. Let's look at number 1 and try to measure number 1 using centimeters. Okay? Centimeters for number 1. Let's measure the top. And I'm going to measure using that first line. You see, I'm going to try to measure up that first line and put that line, not the edge of the ruler, but that line right on the line of the box. And if you see that I've done that, you will see that the length of that centimeter, it goes over to 4. So the length is 4. Let's write that on our thing up here. So the length of it is 4 centimeters. Now the top and the bottom are the same. So if you measure one of them for this rectangle, because these lines are parallel, do you remember that vocab word that you've learned? Parallel. These lines are parallel. So the top and the bottom are both 4 centimeters. You won't have to measure it twice. You only need to measure for one. Now let's measure the sides. Both sides will be the same because they're the equal distance apart. Let's measure the side. I'll show you how to do that. Okay, again, don't use the top of the ruler. Use the top of that line. And then if you go down, you'll see it's about at 3. So the side is about 3 centimeters. Okay, so now that you have all the measurements, to find perimeter, you add them all together. So it would be 4 plus 4 and 3 and 3. Now remember, you can group when you have a big list, or you can just add them straight down. 4 plus 4 is 8. 3 more is 9, 10, 11. 3 more is 12, 13, 14. So that first one, number 1, would be 14, and our unit is centimeters that we measured it in. Number 1 is 14 centimeters. Okay, let's do number 2 together. Number 2. The trickiest part is probably trying to find the measurement of it. But once you have all the measurements, sometimes it will just give it to you in your textbook. These are asking you to do the measurement. So let's look at number 2. It's the shape of a pentagon. So when you're going to measure this side and this side is going to be the same length. And this side and this side are going to be the same length. So we need to find 1, 2, 3 measurements for our pentagon. And let's do that together. Let's look. Let's look at number 2. Let's measure that. Okay, remember, we're starting at that line, not at the end of the ruler. So I got it there at the tip of that line, and then we're going to measure down, and you see the side is about 2. You You see it goes all the way down to approximately the 2. Let's measure the bottom. Okay. You see the bottom measures to about 2 also. Let's measure the top. And the top measures to, I would say, 2 also. Also measures to 2. So 2, 2, 2 for number 2. And we measured in centimeters. 2 centimeters, 2 centimeters, 2 centimeters. Okay, so do you see this and this line would be the same? So this is also 2. This line and this line are also the same. So this is 2. You can add them all together or you can multiply, right? We learned how to multiply and you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You could do 2, 2, 2, 2, 2 and add those all together. Or you can say 2 and you have it 5 times. 2 times 5. And your answer is going to be 10 centimeters. Okay, let's do number 3. Number 3, what shape is that? It's a triangle. It is a scalene triangle where all the sides are different. Okay, so we're going to have to do all 3 measurements because it's a scalene triangle. Okay, let's measure the scalene triangle using our ruler. Let's see if I can get it so you can see. It's a little tricky. Try to do upside down and backwards. Let's try to get it for you. All right. Can you see that it measures to approximately 4? I would say that one is about 4 centimeters for this side. Let's measure the next side. Let's measure that top. What is that going to measure to? The top, I would say, measures to about 2 centimeters. And let's do the last side. And that's going to measure into about 3. That side over there measures to about the 3. So about 3 centimeters for this side. Okay. So let's add these together. 2, 3, 4. And we're adding. This is 5 plus 4 more. We're going to get 9 centimeters. Okay, I would like you to pause the video and do 4, 5, and 6. Then come back and check your answers. Okay, let's look at number 4. Number 4, you should have gotten, you had to measure all the ends also. So there was a lot more measurements. So let me draw the picture up here of number 4. Here's what it looked like. So every side you had to measure. So this side you should have gotten about 3 centimeters. This long one you should have gotten about 4 centimeters. This you should have gotten 3. This you should have gotten 2. And you know what else, friends? You have to do these ends. These ends you should have gotten about 1 centimeter. You have to do every little section. If you're going to fence in your yard, every spot has to have the measurement. So if you added all these together, you should have gotten about 14 centimeters for number 4. Okay, that's what you should have gotten. Okay, number 5, you had to measure it the same way, the ends and all the little sections. Measuring it, you should have gotten 16. And number 6, if you measured all those little areas, you should have gotten about 14 centimeters for number 6. Okay, so go ahead and try some of these problems in your workbook. Some I think you have to measure, and some of the things are given to you. So I'll see you tomorrow and we'll correct that. See you then.